was sage. Oh, hello. Hello there, good evening. I am very much impressed by this crowd here in Frankfurt. Do we have a crowd in Israel as well, in Tel Aviv? Welcome to the Naxos-Halle, to the Produktionshaus Naxos-Halle, where we are very lucky to start a PECHAKUCHA night on a topic which I believe, as I can see the crowd, is very much in the focus of many people. How can global cities reach housing affordability? That's a good question. And we might not get closer to the global solutions, but we hopefully get a lot of new ideas or good ideas from our presenters here in Frankfurt and the presenters in Tel Aviv. Hello, Tel Aviv. Good to see you. Let's... Hi, Sharon.
Well, it's so nice to see you. I don't know where to look at, but I guess you're here. Okay. Right. So yeah, hello from Tel Aviv. It sounds a bit like a Eurovision or something like that, but I guess the topic is a bit different. We have also an amazing crowd here in Tel Aviv from a lot of different fields, and we're very excited to start this exchange with you. So, hello Frankfurt, and please start, Andrea.
Okay, let's start. Let's start with a big thank you to those who finance this event and the next 3 evenings we will also conduct. Because this evening is part of a long ongoing series of events discussing monument protection and urban development. This is the 3rd season. We started during Corona, and this today is the first time we have an audience in the same room as the presenters. So this is really a first, and I am so happy that we can make this happen. And this entire program is financed, as the last 2 seasons, by the Federal Ministry for Housing, Urban Development and Building of the Federal Republic of Germany. And for this season, we also have support by the Gesellschaft der Freunde des Dam. So thank you for also supporting this series. We start today on the housing affordability. We will continue already next Thursday when we talk about planning instruments in history and today. This is not going to take place here, but in Danzig am Platz. So just on the other side of, no, close by actually. And then we have another on the 1st of June about master plans, and then the 4th is on the 6th of July. So we try to be on Thursdays, and each month 1 discussion. And that last one will be on housing and resiliency. And you are very welcome to come there for these last 2 ones, or for the last 2 ones, to our interim museum at Dam Ostend. What can I say? I'm almost speechless. My name, by the way, is Andrea Jürges. I'm the Deputy Director of the German Architecture Museum. I had this wonderful idea to have 2 crowds in 2 different places for this time. And I'm very happy that so far we have 2 crowds. We have speakers here. And I think I would just start.
Andrea, may I also say a few words from Tel Aviv?
Yes, please do so.
Okay, so I've been asked by the strategic department of the municipality of Tel Aviv just maybe give a very short brief about where we stand today. And you just talked about the Naxos-Halle. We are here at the Liebling House in an exhibition describing the evolvement of Tel Aviv through a timeline. And I always stop just to the left of me in the picture of the housing protest in 2011, where there are lots of tenants in Rothschild Boulevard protesting against the high price of living in Tel Aviv. So I think today, 12 years later, it's a very interesting point to look at where we are. The municipality of Tel Aviv Jaffa has been promoting a policy of affordable housing for over a decade since then. And already about 400 units are inhabited, and there are thousands of units in planning pipelines. The demand for social housing has led to a policy approved by the local committee in August 22, which increases the pool of social housing, which is now 1.8%, to a total number of 10% in about 20 years. So with your help, hopefully, we can learn a lot about contemporary ideas of how to approach this issue. And with these words, I would like to thank you, Andrea, as well, and the DAM and the Ernst May Gesellschaft for being so supportive of this whole process. And yes, please, let's start.
Thank you, Sharon, for reminding me. Is of course, the Deutsches Architekturmuseum is not alone in this entire work of developing this series. So we also have the Lieblinghaus in Tel Aviv. We have the Ernst May Gesellschaft as a very important partner in this process. Of course, the Stadtplanungsamt and Stadtplanungsdezernat are also supporting this series. And of course, we also have ICOMOS taking part in the discussions for setting up the program. And well, this is actually also, I mean, I think this is the final day of the middle class mass housing program. And I hope a few people are here from that program as well. Yes, there is. Wonderful. Welcome. And then this is the gathering evening, so the social evening of the Dokomomo Jahrestagung of Germany, of Deutschland, which starts tomorrow morning in the Paulskirche. So we have a lot of things going on at the same time. And now I will start with introducing our first speaker. Don't be nervous. I'm nervous enough for all of us. Eckhard Leudold works for the architecture office Schneider und Schumacher. He was born in Vienna. He studied in Darmstadt. He has already worked in cities such as Barcelona, Tokyo, and Vaduz. And his topic today is Homes for All, das Neue Frankfurt 2018. Will you explain a bit about the competition as well? Okay, then I won't say a word, and the floor is yours, but where's the microphone? There it is.
Thank you very much. Good evening. I'm very happy to be here with you. And as Andrea already mentioned, we found Till, who is also here, Michael and I, we founded Schneider and Schumacher office branch in Vienna in 2010. And Vienna is not only a beautiful city, but also well known for the social housing. Is it okay? And we have been invited to a competition here in Frankfurt with a Viennese project we did in the application, which was subsidized housing in the PECHAKUCHA. And actually, this was a kind of re-import from Frankfurt to Vienna and back again. But let me tell you something first, what was interesting for us. We found this fire in Frankfurt in May 2012, where insulation was burning. We also know the Greenfeld Tower fire. And we developed a kind of aversion against thermal insulation. And as you can see in this picture, this is a material which has no sensual quality to us. But on the other hand, we fell in love with bricks, because bricks also, bricks are not only a fantastic material, but they have this sensual quality. And therefore, we tried to develop buildings as the Oberrad project here in Frankfurt, where we use bricks in a monolithic construction, which are filled with insulation, so that we don't have to add the insulation to the outside walls. And the Oberrad project was developed to a limited rent with 10 euros per meter square. And it was not a monolithic brick construction in the beginning, because you see concrete slabs, and we also have partition walls in concrete. But we started to build facades in the brick module with perlite-filled bricks. And what you can see here is, as I mentioned, the staircases are put outside the heated building envelope. So we have less heating energy for the inside, and we can save this space for the flat typology, which is a modular typology we also developed further for our project, which I want to introduce now, which is called Max and Moritz by William Busch, Schneider and Schunger, which was entered in the Housing for All competition, where we were given, after the first phase, where we applied with the Viennese project, we were given a site at Hilgenfeld, close to Frankfurter Berg, where you can see the Nidda here, and where the circle is, there is our site. A kind of bigger extension of an existing structure, and the 10 teams which were selected in the competition for the phase 2 got 4 plots, and we took 2 of them. And as you can see, the competition was done started in 2018, and in 2019, in springtime, we won. And we wanted to do the building in a very prominent place, where you can see where it's written upbeat for Hilgenfeld. We took the first site, and then actually we were motivated to enter another building for the other side. And as you can see, we were kind of interested in cell division. You see Max and Moritz on the right and Hani and Nani on the left. And we also found that there are many urban structures in Germany which are only bars, and we fell in love with butterflies. And so we thought we could also kind of transform these city structures to get a bit more interesting inside spaces. And as you can see here, the urban design of the Hilgenfeld, at the left-hand side, Max and Moritz as the upbeat, and then entering the whole city quarter, and developing the scheme in blue, Hani and Nani, which was not selected. But our proposal showed a kind of core or punctual house with a very compact building volume as a monolithic brick construction I already mentioned. And what we did is we have 2 staircases which are lit from the sky, and we have 1 elevator in the middle you also can see, which is serving 50 flats. And this is something which we often do, that we try to get as many apartments as possible to a lift, and we kind of overcome this regulation that only 4 flats for a staircase are enough. And you can see the building structure, which is circular, and we have very compact flats. So you see the outside brick walls. 2/3 of the flats are orientated to corners or opened around corners, so we have the cross ventilation possible. And it's a very rigid module, in order also to save building costs. And then we went into the process from the competition to realization, where the building got the Eierleg and the Wollmilchsau. We had to house 300 photovoltaic elements. We have to do 25% green facade. We found that the site was limited by Hessen Water and the natural reserve area, and we are still fighting with regulations which are dealing with noise protection. And it may be or might be a good idea to reduce the speed limits at this road in order to get rid of this noise problem. Maybe this will be a way in the future. Yes, it's almost 4 years ago as we won. So Ernst May did 12,000 flats in 5 years, and we hope that we can build 50 flats in 12 years. It's a joke. But there is hope. We will enter the building application maybe next April, so 5 years after we won the competition. And I want to thank you for your attention. And this is our lovely team, which is also consisting of Bollinger and Grohmann and Hilla Wichert, Wüst Engineers, and Carla Loh for the landscape. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. What I would also like to mention, we also stream this worldwide via our YouTube channel, so no pressure. And it's going to stay on the YouTube channel for forever. So you're prepared. Thank you for this really good presentation. There's one more thing I want to mention. We asked for at an open call for participation for all kinds of presentations regarding the topic of housing affordability, because we thought it's interesting to learn from each other, practice, so the real life of buildings, to theory, to past, to present, to future. So I hope we will have a very good range of different topics to keep things lively. And to keep things lively, we're not going to have all the presentations here in Germany first and then the other presentations in Israel second. No, we're going to switch. But so it's going to be, the next one will be still here in Frankfurt. So I welcome Tabea Latocha as our next presenter. She is with the initiative Eine Stadt für alle, a city for all, which campaigns for a solidarity-based and needs-oriented perspective in Frankfurt's housing market, desperately needed, of course, and fights against displacement and gentrification in order to create a livable city for all. They also advocate for the democratic appropriation of urban space, non-commercial cultural open spaces, and good coexistence. Thank you and welcome, and the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you so much for the introduction. Yeah, I hope it's going to start right away. I'm ready. Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Tabea, and today our initiative, Eine Stadt für alle, wants to take you on a critical retrospective to take a look back in history. We want to learn from Neues Frankfurt back in the 1930s and take a critical look at Siedlung Miquellallee, a less known Mai-Siedlung. So, first of all, a few words about us. Our initiative is a diverse community of people fighting for the right to the city. We are a critical political initiative, and we have seen what is happening in Frankfurt for many years. We followed along the development policies and also the housing policies. Rising rents really concern us. So now, 100 years almost later, after the very famous housing construction program of Ernst May, we ask what remains of the public welfare principles today, and what can we maybe learn from history for the future creation of affordable housing here in Frankfurt, but also in other global cities. So Siedlung Miquellallee was originally called Wohnsiedlung Hundswiese, and it was built for workers in the 1930s, IG Farben workers. After the Second World War, the flats became in the ownership of Höchst AG, a big chemical industry here in Frankfurt. But not only the good quality, also the social cohesion and architecture is very unique. Until today, many tenants are actually ex-Höchst workers, so many elderly tenants live there. And the social idea of Höchst is still very present in the remembrance of the tenants. They were rented out as part of the pension scheme. However, there was a big change in 1998. The flats were privatized to Deutsche Wohnen. What about privatization, you could ask? Well, privatization was a heavy burden for the tenants. In the context of the restructuring of and later liquidation of Höchst, the apartments actually became part of Deutsche Bank and then the subsidiary Deutsche Wohnen. And privatization actually means Deutsche Wohnen increases the rents. Deutsche Wohnen is listed on the stock exchange, and at the core of the business model is profit maximization. So they try to increase the rents and minimize the costs for service and maintenance. So they already tried to increase the rents by 30% in the year of acquisition, and that story has continued today. Over the past decades, tenants have been confronted with many serious issues: mold, no running water, no service, and high vacancy rates. Nevertheless, rent levels have gone up. This is putting the community under stress, and many tenants have already moved out. Over the past years, the increasing vacancy rate has actually been the most concerning moment, but also the rising rents. Tenants have been wondering what is going to happen to the flats. Deutsche Wohnen long had no answer. Some tenants moved out because they couldn't bear the insecurity. Others had to move because the rent price was too high. Now, last November 2022, Deutsche Wohnen finally announced their plans for the future, extensive, energetic modernizations of the whole estate. For elderly tenants, this is very concerning. One woman told us, "I simply don't know what to do. I don't know if I can take all the stress." So the announced modernizations mean a lot of construction work is going to happen in the estate very soon. Bathrooms and kitchens will be closed, and tenants will only have access to mobile sanitary containers. Especially for the many elderly tenants in the estate, this is going to be very tricky. And after so many years of disinvestment and decay in the estate, actually Deutsche Wohnen uses modernizations of the estate as a vehicle for yet again to increase the rent price. With a letter informing the tenants about all the construction work that is going to come, they were also informed that they have to pay more rent, €3 per square meter. For some, this is going to be too much. They will have to move out. So the increasing rent is really concerning. And this is why our initiative Stadt für alle has teamed up with tenants. We go to the estate and we try to inform renters about their rights. And we believe that solidarity is a very important moment. So we try to organize renters because organizing can help tenants to move out of singularization. And this is really important because what happens there does not only happen in Siedlung Miquelallee, it happens everywhere in Frankfurt, but also globally in so many estates. And this has only been possible because this estate has been privatized. So Siedlung Miquelallee is just one of many examples here in Frankfurt. As you can see on the chart, the number of social rental flats and affordable homes is decreasing every single year here in Frankfurt. And there's so many good ideas for affordable homes, but what is being built most of the time is high-end luxury or not really affordable homes. So while the number of affordable homes decreases, the rent level rise, income levels stagnate. And we ask, who can still afford to live here in Frankfurt? And why is only really high-priced homes that is being built? So taking a look back at Siedlung Miquelallee, what do we learn? Siedlung Miquelallee really warns us. Privatization and profit maximization in the very basic field of housing is toxic. We don't want that. We want to ask for a different and another housing policy. We believe that it's merely a political question which ideas will actually be afforded, which ideas will be funded with public money. The program Neues Frankfurt was really brave and really bold, and there was a lot of public money put in place to actually afford affordable homes. And we strongly believe that Frankfurt can reach housing affordability and that this is our city, so we have to fight for it. We ask good and affordable homes for all and really invite you to come along and also claim that. Eine Stadt für alle organizes tenants, but we also work politically. And we know that Frankfurt has great potential because there's so many initiatives out there and so many good ideas. So let us connect back with our history of Ernst May, of the public welfare-oriented housing policy, and let us be fierce and say yes to a different kind of housing policy, not a profit-oriented one, but a one based on solidarity. Thank you.
Thank you, Tabea. Especially thank you for reminding us how similar actually Frankfurt and Tel Aviv is, just even in the small aspect of the pressure, this enormous pressure of development that is happening in both cities and the rights for affordable housing that we are also fighting for here in Tel Aviv. So our next speakers are Eitan Server and Shai Amshalem. They're speaking on community as a method of creating a new way of blending value innovation, guest-centric design, and unique living experience. You have to explain that to me. Anyway, this is the first company of its kind in Israel to offer an innovative social housing and living experience, a joint venture with MIT Collective Housing Lab, with holdings in both Haifa and Tel Aviv. And their topic is bottom-up projects of communal housing. So, please.
Good evening, everyone. In the 1950s, most of apartment complexes in Israel look like this. We call them shikunim. It was simple, it was affordable, and it has spacious gardens, okay, aiming to create a community, okay? Just yesterday, we celebrate our 75th Independence Day, and a few decades after, look how it looks. It's not safe, it's neglected, and the spacious gardens that we're aiming for community, are abandoned, and social resilience is low accordingly. 2022, almost a third of our housing permits came from urban renewal, okay, and it's growing rapidly. It means Israel is small. Okay, and most of our development will come from urban renewal, and of course, it gives a big opportunity to create housing that is more communal, diverse, etc. My name is Shayam Shalem, Eitan Serber. Next to me, we met 12 years ago in the Technion Urban Planning Studies, and we established people to create housing that is more diverse, more adjusted to a target audience, and more communal. We started with a vision of thinking about an apartment building and thinking how it can give much bigger value to its tenants if they work and create together, okay? And 2017, we renovated our first building in South Tel Aviv together with Professor Rafi Segel from MIT, according to the cooperative housing principle. The building was mostly abandoned and was an active drug station in the south of Tel Aviv, 20 minutes walk from here. So hard neighborhood, and we had really very low resources. You know, it was our pilot building, and so we thought what we can do, and we knew we wanted to make it a project which was co-creation. So we just used our social networks, okay, and luckily enough, because the building in this shape, it wasn't easy, but luckily enough, we found an amazing partners, and working together with them, we created a building that offered numerous of shared meals and exhibitions. And bottom line, it's the sense of security in the street got better, the street got more colorful, and it also offered an affordable and communal solution for our tenants. Today we look at it as a model, okay, and we even have the honor to have the mayors of both Frankfurt and Tel Aviv with us, and the knowledge that we acquired there, we took to downtown Haifa. They call it here the Innovation District, but lacks the sense of a community. We already knew the DNA, we know how to do it, we work together with our neighbors, with our future tenants, and what we're doing there is a multi-generational building, combining both young and old tenants, and integrated with common spaces and areas. And this building is being built these days in downtown Haifa. Going up the mountain of Carmel, in Adar Carmel, Hadarim Fund. It's a social impact fund, when they're renovating 4 buildings in the neighborhood. And they're using the SDG, which is the UN measurement index for sustainable development. and they're creating some kind of we're creating there some multi-sectoral combination to create safer street, affordable housing, and promoting social businesses to get the security there better.
Again, to the next level, we are now involved in dozens of neighborhoods around Israel. In all of those neighborhoods, we are part of the urban team as a social urbans. We are involved and we are combining big data with social work in order to make more neighborhood more affordability. One of our projects is here in Tel Aviv, in Kfar Shalem. We took big data from the municipality to understand exactly the amount of tenants that are living in the different compounds. And from that, we can we can bring tools like affordable housing and different tools to make sure that the people won't be gentrified in the new neighborhood. Another project that we are involved is in Beersheba, in the city civic center. We're talking about hundreds of apartments and families that are living there that need to work together to bring the urban revival to make it happen. We are working in different kind of sub-communities, like the elderly, that we explain them all their rights and understand with them what of kind of apartments they need. We are finding the local leadership and trying to bring them the knowledge needed to make the project by own and to choose the real estate development by their own. In our example, our approach is tenant-centric approach. If it's the renters in Tel Aviv, elderlies in Haifa, or low-income people in Beersheba, we work as a team in our company to make the neighborhood more adjust to their needs. And we want to thank you for the evening, for inviting us. Good evening.
Thank you, Shai and Eitan. That was great. Now I want to welcome architect Liat Eskov Ben-Shitrit. Eskov? Yeah. Yes. She is an architect specializing in the field of urban density. She will speak about new hands-on methodologies in cooperative housing projects for the elderly in Israel, which she's currently working on. And the topic is new hands-on methodologies for cooperative housing. So please.
Thank you, and I'm very happy to be speaking after Eitan and Shai, because I'm going to take a dive at looking at our housing for elderly. I don't know how it is in Frankfurt or Europe, but in Israel, we've been very busy for a decade looking at housing solutions for our young population and affordable for young population. So here we're going to dive into our seniors. We have over 1 million seniors already today, and even though we're a very young country with a very growing large population of young people, and our families have on average above 3 children family, still our elders are growing double that of the general population. And we also have larger and larger parts of our population living in smaller households. Anywhere between 27 to 40% of our elders are living alone. Very, very big, very different data we have about that. But we know on ground that a lot of them are living alone and that they're lonely. And we have a multitude of social challenges that we all are going to face we're all going to get there. Each and every one of us, hopefully. If we're lucky enough, we'll live until we're old. And I've highlighted some of the predominant ones. And we've been looking at them usually separately, but now we understand that urban planning and housing can impact them. But we've really been looking at solutions for very few of our elders. Only 4% of the population is actually being taken into consideration in the existing models, and we need to look for other models. The models that we have now are institutional. We have on the left side solutions for the very poor, and on the right side solutions for the very rich. And the big question is, where are the rest of us going to live? So what we've been starting to look into are models that are very similar to what Shai and Eitan just showed us, that connect dwelling and community. And in that way, we're trying to give our elders solutions for many of their problems. And what we can see is the big benefits of these kind of co-housing initiatives, where they have shared spaces and equipment, where we have a lot of social interaction at home. You just think about these people that at 65 or 70, they stop working, and suddenly, after being always surrounded by people, they're not. So we want them to be surrounded by people at home. Why is it not happening in Israel? Because the land is very expensive, and also, even though we are the land of the kibbutzim, the model of social housing was abandoned, and we're almost entirely market rate and market initiated. In addition, we've had, like in Frankfurt, housing prices in Israel have escalated in astonishing numbers. You can see that from 2008, it has only risen and risen and risen, and this stops at 2016, but it just got worse. And if that's not enough, it's a very big challenge, a planning challenge, not only an economical challenge, but also a planning challenge to connect community and housing together. These are processes that work at different paces, different disciplines, and how do we make these things connect? So we started to create like a strategic plan for this, trying to think of how to overcome all the challenges. And we decided to start gradually from the easier side, which is market rate, working with developers on how to create housing that has these community spaces. And with the Ministry of Construction and Housing and the Milken Center, we just before Passover, a couple of weeks ago, put out a request for sites that could house this. This is it was sent out to developers and to municipalities, and we outlined to them what is this kind of housing, because it's like a new phenomena here. Very few people do it, and the key to it is the shared spaces. So we have explanations of what it is that we're requiring, and we're inviting developers and municipalities to look for suggest appropriate sites, where the key is actually thinking of what it is that we can take out of our private house and share together with the community, in order to be more efficient, but also in order to create social engagement. Just by going to do your laundry, you have to step out of your house. Maybe on the ground floor, you'll meet your neighbors, and that'll create that kind of social interaction that we're looking for. Okay. The unique requirements for our elderly are very interesting. When we look at the common rooms, we're looking at accessibility, because as they age, they need, for instance, bathrooms very close by, and they need to be accessible. And also we're looking for rooms that can be used for multi-generational social interaction. We're also looking for various, very different apartment sizes. Unlike the young people, older people have a history. They have families. In Israel, we have big families. We like to host them. So we're looking at different apartment sizes. And we're also looking at tenure security. A person who moves into a home at age 65 or 70 definitely is not going to want to be kicked out at the age of 80 or 90. And we're looking for active kitchens that, like I said, we like to host. That's it. This was a challenge to speak so quickly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this excellent reminder that we need different housing for different needs, and that we really need to develop further our requirements and regulations so that this kind of housing, which was just introduced to us, is easier to realize at an affordable price. Thank you for that. Let's talk about our next speaker here in Frankfurt. His name is Jonathan Radetz. He's a graduate of the Academy for Interior and Object Design in Garmisch-Partenkirchen, which is in the very south of Germany and nice for skiing. Has had his own studio since 2014 and is co-initiator of the Istanbul Dan project. He won several design awards, including the German Design Award and the Red Dot Design Award. And he's also part of Making Frankfurt, by the way. He has his own studio, as said, and he's going to talk about spaces for future-oriented and lively togetherness. Jonathan, the floor is yours.
Hello, Frankfurt. Hello, Tel Aviv. I have to say, 9 points to Tel Aviv. That was fantastic. And yes, I talk about a project because I'm a founding member of a young corporation in Frankfurt called Adaptiv. So we want to build a house to work on future affordable housing. We work here with an existing building. It's the former Academy of Work. It's very close to the city center, right on the edge of the future cultural campus. It's the old Frankfurt campus, right now pretty much empty, and there's a lot of things to do. We are a group about 100 people, and we also work on this existing building and try to save as much as we can, but we also have to reconstruct one part to max out the amount of residents, because more residents means lower rent and also lower investment per person. So these are the kind of people, all experts in different fields, I would say, and we all share the passion to share resources and work on new ways of living together. And I think the very special about this group is also that we try to be a multi-general house. So there are all ages there, and I think especially a lot of families right now, because I think we saw the elderly people, and we all know that people living alone and families are struggling right now to find homes, affordable homes. But we also not only think about housing, we also want to do something right now in Bockenheim by already start sharing things like this cargo bike. We work there together with my Lastenrad, because I think it's very important to even start being in the neighborhood, because we want to grow into the neighborhood instead of just being there when the building is finally finished. So we think a lot about what the people need in this block, and of course what we need if we all live together. So there will be a wood workshop we want to offer also to the public and share our knowledge about things like that, also like a bicycle workshop, so of course to also interact with the neighborhood. And this is a little break, because we also try to clean up our building, because we have to cool down the cities because of the climate change, and we want to have a green court, a green rooftop, and these are all shared facilities like green living rooms. We also understand ourselves as a housing lab, because we work on the future affordability, and what we really want to do is work on the Frankfurter cluster. This is an even more sufficient cluster, because seeing how the prices are for building houses, we actually need to lower the total rent. Means we need more sufficient floor plans, because then by reducing the square meter, it might be even more important than reducing the price per square meters. I think there are already a lot of cluster housing concepts there, like in south of Germany or even Austria and Vienna. and often the private apartments are still big enough so that even the community spaces are not used enough. So what we do is we try to get on our limits in the private space and still having the bigger community space for this community housing project. And we know that someone needs to test things like that, especially for if we want to rent out those flats, because there are things to organize, like how would those renting agreements look like. And I think it's a very old thing to do. So if you share just a little bit for community, and you are like us, almost 100 people, it has such an impact if you see it in numbers. So we really hope that people can learn from what we try to do. I know the city of Frankfurt is already behind this change with the Baulandbeschluss, for example. They're already doing something in the direction, but right now no corporation can actually build beneath 18 euros per square meter. So we really need to lower the ground rent, the airport zins, because otherwise we stop here. And there's also even more to do, because I think it's such a big challenge. We talk here all about affordable housing, and what we right now do is even try to build houses for our group. So especially when you think about existing buildings, it's very hard because, for example, there are things like the Liegenschaftsfonds of the county of Hesse, but they are only allowed to buy grounds and not houses. So how should we then work on affordable housing? I think the market will collapse if we only build luxury homes. And we all know the city of Frankfurt is so nice because of the people live in the city and adds all those values. And for sure, it's not the big banks and companies what makes the city of Frankfurt or other cities such a beautiful place. So we need all of you guys to help that projects like us and similars you saw in Tel Aviv are able to fulfill their visions and not stop doing what they do. So yeah, check out what we're doing and others here tonight. Thank you a lot. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see more presentations.
Thank you, Jonathan. Excellent. I can only say, let's build more of this stuff, right? Instead of single family home houses, which we cannot afford with the limited space we have. They're over, they're done. We have enough of this, and we don't have enough of things like Jonathan's project. Thank you very much. The next, Tabea Kaiser, for the Netzwerk Frankfurt für Gemeinschaftliches Wohnen e.V., which is a non-profit association that aims to implement innovative and community-oriented forms of living, such as co-housing, cooperative housing, and collaborative living in Frankfurt and the Rhine-Main region. They offer educational and networking activities and act as a platform for community-based housing initiatives and projects. Tabea Kaiser has been a part of their team for 2 years. The topic, community and cooperative housing project as third pillar of housing supply and role models in the development of global cities. Thank you.
Good evening. Co-housing projects, we just heard some wonderful examples, are sometimes belittled as playgrounds by free market housing companies. You can also see them as catalysts for the development of global cities and an affordable supply of housing. I will show you why. My name is Tabea Kaiser. I'm part of Netzwerk Frankfurt. Okay, well, there might be some things to belittle in co-housing projects, such as parking lots for toy cars. But if we want to change something, we need creativity, courage, and a love of experimentation. So what have co-housing projects in common with the new Frankfurt? They use some of the same guiding principles like in 1925. Firstly, they are space saving. 100 years ago in the New Frankfurt, a family home for 4 to 5 people was about 90 square meters. Nowadays, our average consumption of living space is about 50 square meters for just one person, as you can see in the yellow square. Non-profit housing is already consuming less space per person here in orange. The least space consumption, with about 30 square meters per person, is in co-housing projects. The blue square shows the example of a project in Switzerland. Adaptive is only calculating with 20%, for example. So secondly, co-housing projects are often organized in cooperatives, as cooperatives. So what is so great about cooperatives? Cooperatives secure stable rents in the long term. And with their attitude of solidarity and their democratic decisions, they offer solutions to the most diverse challenges of our time. Space and therefore money can also be saved by sharing washing machines in a communal laundry room. 100 years ago, this was very common, at least among women. So co-housing projects brought back this beautiful old tradition, but with two differences. They are also used by men, and they call it something more elegant, laundrette, for example. So we should translate some of these ideas of 100 years ago into the present day, because family structures, for example, have changed completely. In Frankfurt, 53% of all households are single households, and in only 90% of all households are living children. So today it's not done anymore by technological improvements. Central heating systems, pipe water, or standardized interiors were key factors in 1925 for saving costs and not to forget for our sanity and hygiene. Now we have hundreds of technological features, but them alone are not solving the shortage of housing nor the climate crisis. So neither it is just about mass-produced housing anymore, as it was in the 70s, for example. This only helps the housing industry to achieve more returns. So we need new guiding principles in urban planning, ideas and structures that offer incentives for a climate-friendly lifestyle, affordable for everyone. So what makes the difference in collaborative housing? Co-housing projects design their living space in such a way that participation is possible and a social mix is created. Over 18% in housing within our member projects in Frankfurt is social housing. That is more than twice as much as in the rest of the Frankfurt housing market, as you can see in the graph. So in the following, I will share some more guiding principles of co-housing. People in co-housing projects are looking for concepts that save space, resources, and costs. This picture shows very well luxury is in sharing. So not only the person with the most money can enjoy the view from the roof terrace. Okay, maybe it is not this view, but in classic residential areas, we see plot divisions like these a lot. And don't you think we are wasting space and quality of living when we plan cities this way? I'm afraid these structures will shape our behavior. The fences seem to say no entry. So isn't this picture much nicer? This photo, by the way, is taken just a few hundred meters from here. There, 5 co-housing projects share an inner courtyard, and they decided not to put up fences. Instead, they organize joint Christmas markets or meet to garden, for example. So these architectural features create a whole different type of neighborhood. For example, this project in Munich has those arbor walkways running between the front doors and the private balconies, and this creates semi-public spaces which encourage casual interactions. So what else? Cooperative housing projects have a diversity of use. Often they plan innovative floor plans which address the demographic change. This graphic shows a present scenario in a co-housing project in Darmstadt. And it's built to adapt to the change in their residential biographies. In 2038, their kids might have moved out, so the flats can be separated due to the modular construction. And the residents can stay in their familiar surroundings, and their space consumption is still kept very low. I will slowly come to an end and share with you our vision. Firstly, we need more participation processes and multiple actors in housing involving the society. Secondly, instruments such as concept awarding procedures in land allocation must become standard rather than maximum price competitions. Our team and many more people in Frankfurt and whole Germany are working on that vision. We see ourselves as an intermediary organization between civic initiatives, politics, administration, and the housing industry. We invite you to visit the projects in Frankfurt on the 13th of May. My team is here tonight and will hand out some flyers to you. So finally, on this chart you can see the colored dots where projects in Frankfurt are already existing or being built. I think we need a lot more of them to strengthen this third pillar of housing supply, affordable housing supply. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tabea. It was very inspiring. Now I would like to invite another Israeli speaker. Architect Daniel Zaghi graduated with honors from the Tel Aviv University School of Architecture. He has worked with Oma Ramkulas in Rotterdam and Herzog Dameron in Basel. Zaghi has also been teaching in Bezalel Academy of Art and Design and Architecture in Jerusalem since 2012. And he's going to speak on the design of 2 new communal housing projects currently planned in Israel. The architect will focus on the subject of empty spaces in his design and on the point of civic bottom engagement. So Studio PEZ is your office, and you're going to speak about communal housing projects in Israel. Daniel, please.
Okay, hi, thank you. Thank you, Tabea, for the introduction, and Sharon, and the introduction that we just saw in Frankfurt. So my name is Daniel Zaghi. I'm co-founder of Studio PEZ, based in Basel, Switzerland, and in Tel Aviv. This dual location, this schizophrenia, allows us to have a changing perspective, local and global. So when we talk about housing, I have a small story. A couple of years ago, a real estate agent called me and said, there's something you need to see. But I said, well, we're not looking for a flat. He said, you should come. And then I came and I saw this place, 6 ordinary buildings over a very beautiful garden. And I called my wife and I told her, honey, we're moving. Little did I know that at the same time in Basel, Switzerland, my business partner, Pedro, told his wife, his Spanish, Cariña, vamos, and they had a similar opportunity in Basel when this nice Schinzel project just opened for public housing in Basel. And actually in both places, it wasn't only about the apartment, but it was more about the public space in the project, either the garden or this public space. So when we speak about affordable housing, we usually miss the point. Why? Because we tend to speak about the minimum requirements for a flat, the minimum requirements for a room, the minimum rent. But we also should talk not about housing, but maybe we should talk about homes. So affordable housing is not only about real estate, not about square meters, or even how sustainable they are all very important. But actually, they should include all of them, but much more. So we believe that it's not only about reinventing the wheel, but rather rethinking each of the basic ingredients that construct a home. And I will demonstrate it in 2 projects in Israel and 2 projects in Basel, actually in Switzerland. So this is Hochbergerstraße in Basel. And the project is about reuse of an existing office building in an industrial part of the city and turning it into affordable housing, the most sustainable way ever to reuse a building. And we looked for ways to use these steps to create new spaces, like open spaces for communication, for air, for meeting places. As an office building, it has a regular structural grid, but we thought that encounters between people should have a diversity of apartments. So we created a variety of apartments that are able to host a variety of tenants. After inviting everyone in, we needed to design something extra. We needed a social space on the building rooftop, so everybody could meet there, can work together or alone, relax or work, and it's flexible enough to choose your own activity. So we provide as architects a platform, and the people provide the content. So let's move back to Israel. A bit further from Tel Aviv, this is a project we're designing for 191 affordable housing units. But within them, we designed a vein of blood, or a place for air and green. So we pushed the built areas to the plot's perimeter in order to create a communal open space in the center of the project. But we didn't think about it just as a garden, but actually as a potential for new activities. Rather than creating a homogeneous space, we created a series of shared spaces in various scales and sizes. And as you know, we provide the scenery, but it's up to the people to provide the activities there, the games, and the meeting places. So the next point is that might sound banal, but actually, while rethinking the balcony as a bite in the building's volume, they become the center of the house, a kind of Mediterranean patio that becomes the meeting place, a dining place, a living space for the family, where you can go from the kitchen or from the living room, and where the whole family could meet. And we're going back to Switzerland, this time again in Basel. I like this project because it's actually intended for the least privileged people, for refugees. And we wanted the tenants to be proud of their home, to feel that they are living in a luxurious palace. And the answer sometimes is very simple. So we used here actually prefabricated timber construction that creates this kind of special silhouette. We stack the modules in a way that reacts both to the street, to the neighborhood, and also to the small cafe pavilion in an ex-tram station that was nearby. And despite this modular character of the building, we wanted to create, I'm repeating myself, sorry. The need for the efficiency led us to create kind of a dual use for each of the spaces. So actually the access galleries for the apartments become a meeting place, they become a balcony, because every square meter counts, to make it as affordable as possible and to maximize the utility. We call it the Maxim house, which is actually also means a charming house in Hebrew. And back to the Holy Land, it's a project we're designing. It's not so affordable actually, but in the Weizmann Institute of Science, where there is a striking landscape design from the 60s, from the 50s and 60s by Tzuri Alom. And we wanted to ask ourselves, how can we create a housing scheme that welcomes the landscape in, even in the apartments? So what we did is we created, each apartment is based on an elongated balcony with varying widths, each one according to the adjacent program, to the living space and eating space, to the rooms where you can have a cup of coffee overlooking the landscape, and also just to stand outside, catch a breath of fresh air and look over the landscape. But the main thing, again, is the community. And we, by liberating the ground floor and leaving it half empty, we invite the community and the landscape in. It's a place where people can grow their vegetables, children can play, or scientists can talk about quantum physics or something like that. So how can we use architecture in order to take all those small ingredients, courtyard, balcony, bench, gravel, and create a wholesome building that is greater than the sum of its parts? We lost the image. Look at this picture of actually where Pedro is living. And the architecture here has created this sense of community and a gatherings of all the tenants together. So architecture doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be expensive. It just needs to be generous to create a potential, one that the users and passers-by can fulfill. It can create an added value. And look at this picture. The only thing that my children are using here is a 40-centimeter height difference between the balcony and the ground, and they made a whole playground out of it. So we believe in architecture that is generous and it's open, that a design that leaves room for interpretation, or in other words, this is what defines an affordable home from house, a room, both physical and metaphorical, for everyone to interpret in their own way. Thank you very much.
Daniel, thank you so much. It was exciting to hear that what we can do with such a simple idea of open space and height differences, and look at it from this scope is really exciting. So now I'm really honored to invite the last speaker from Israel, architect Omri Levy. And I'm also very excited because Andrea and us here at the Living House and Ernst May Gesellschaft, we always thought that we want to make it very multidisciplinary, this event, and not only hear about a certain angle of the subject. So now we have the honor to hear actually students speaking through Omri Levy. He is taught in the Betzalel housing semester as part of the architectural education. It focused on domestic spheres, promoting relevant debates on housing issues of equity, justice, climate change, existing culture, and possible alternatives. On the research, it was done with students in the housing lab of the School of Architecture at the Betzalel Academy, and they were looking for alternative ways to dwell in the near future, focusing on the challenges of density, climate change, loneliness, and urban responsibility. So I'm very excited to hear your voice now, Omri, and see you later.
I'll speak here. Thank you very much. As Sharon said, what we will be presenting today is not my work, but the work of 13 great students. And with me, Gleb Galkin, architect Gleb Galkin, was teaching this studio. And I would also like to thank Alon Sarig and Ifat Finkelman for leading the early years education. So we call this studio Good Housing for Hard Times. And we really discovered that we're facing the domestic question at a state of crisis. Now, I would like to quote Sennett on this idea of crisis as crisis being the Greek word for a decision required when things come to head and can no longer be avoided. We focused on our site in San Simon neighborhood in Jerusalem, which is a site of, let's say, inequality, not only social inequality, but also architectural inequality. And we all asked questions of not how can we solve the problems, but rather what questions should be raised, what ideas should we think of. The San Simon neighborhood is a neighborhood, a domestic neighborhood, and we very quickly realized that it lacks a lot of amenities. There are a lot of units, but not so many functions that can help. Oh, I see that it's very hard to see the lines, but we also practically, I hope that it's only in the Zoom, we assessed the site and we tried to realize what are the qualities of different areas on site to understand where can we best intervene. Now, I would like to quote Daniel Bernham and say that maybe we realize that we should make big plans, or at least we shouldn't be afraid of big plans. Big plans are great ways to reduce the cost, to share facilities together. We realize that we need to communicate with the city and use our plans to basically give something to the city, but also ask the city to give us something back. And as you can see in this plan, there's a gradual shift from the public to the private through the communal. So we realized, as many have already said, that we need diversity, not only in the housing apartments, but also if we plan a big complex, we need different kind of buildings together. And this diversity is also within the different buildings, from private to public. As many have already said, the society is shifting. We do get many different people. We would like to plan many different apartments that can fit different needs of our people, and that's a great idea from Shani. some radical ideas, as we can see here, even propose to eliminate the concept of apartments and to live all together in one big shared space. Now, this can only be done with certain rules and certain ideas, but we realize that that's kind of like a change of, a shift in architecture, where the architect does not focus anymore on the space itself, but rather on the infrastructure. In order for that to happen, we need to have electricity, we need to have water, and we need to have drainage for the people to share. Of course, that's very radical, and we would not live in that right now, but we did understand that we need to plan for flexibility. So planning for flexibility is important, and in that sense, we can think of spaces that are maybe will be used in one way for one use and in another way for another use. Now, our most radical proposal was a proposal to not extend at all. And in this proposal by Amit, Amit proposed to take buildings with 4 apartments per floor and redivide them internally into 12 units. So in another proposal by Shira, Shira proposed to have 1 triplex apartment and divide it into 3 duplex apartments. Now, this might seem radical, but if we think that we're going to get more and more dense, we might need such a solution as forced division or maybe compensation for people that have too much space. But in any case, we understand that we need to invest, as has been said already, we need to invest in the communal space, because the denser we live, the more important the communal space is, and we need bigger communal spaces that can help us make smaller housing units. So one thing that we realized is that architecture is really important. With all due respect to all the numbers, architecture can allow us, through different manipulations, to live closer at a higher level of privacy and quality. And here, Aya has made a small shift in the height, but had made which allows people to have bigger privacy. Or we can rethink materials that we use. For example, if we stop using unnecessary materials and we use temporary materials, maybe we can reduce the cost, and maybe we can reduce the effort in the building site. Of course, that's very theoretical, but maybe it's our responsibility as local architects to rethink the materials we use. We also need to think, where do we integrate the nature? And it's hard to see, but inside the building, Tamar was very interested to integrate the nature as we get denser and denser. So another thing that we might want to do, and I really apologize that it's hard to see, but we might think of productivity in the apartments. So in a sense, in here, Shira proposes to have in every apartment another room that can be used as a clinic, can be used as a yoga studio, can be used for any other use. In any case, if we want to rethink living, if we want to rethink housing, what we need is great imagination, and what we need is to rethink the way we live, to rethink the story. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was really interesting. I'm happy to get ideas from students, from new ideas for housing, or maybe not so new ideas, and we just need to rediscover it. I think flexibility and green space, free space are the buzzwords, and they should not only be buzzwords, but they should be filled with possibilities. Back to Frankfurt. Now we have Ruth Schlögl and Nathalie Heger. They are researchers and they work at the Frankfurt University of Applied Sciences and deal with the large housing estates of the 1950s to 1960s in the Frankfurt Rhine-Main area. Whether dealing with the housing resources of these settlements and their resilient further development, or the issue of sustainability, they can give a professional opinion on both. Lucky us. The two have gained their knowledge at various universities and organizations in Europe, and their topic today is Cornerstone Life Quality. Welcome, Ruth and Nathalie. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Hello, good evening, also to Tel Aviv. I will start with a quote. Without my family here, the housing area would be just a collection of concrete blocks. But the many memories from my childhood and youth that I share with this place, I would never want to miss them.
So, affordable housing should be more than nameless concrete blocks. And because we are convinced that the resilient further development of post-war modernist housing areas is a very important task, we would like to present our research project to you today. In this particular project, we focus on the quality of life and we try to measure it. The measurement of the quality of life is an important tool for owners of large housing areas and for their individual development plans for their housing properties. When we try to measure the quality of life, we've defined 11 different categories. These categories are, for example, rental costs, open space, the community, health, sports, and many others. After a successful measurement in one housing area, the results of the measurement are summarized in the following graph, the so-called Wohnqualitätsindex, Housing Quality Index. And this graph shows you straight away the weaknesses and the strengths of a certain housing area. It shows all the people involved where to act. A central aspect of our project was when we try to measure quality of life, what kind of questions do we have to ask? I can tell you we have to ask a lot of questions. For example, we ask, how well is the housing area connected to the city center? How high are the rental costs and the service charges for the tenants? We ask things like, how many apartments have a balcony, a loggia, or a terrace? Or if we look closer at a certain category, for example, the category of open spaces, we ask the owners of the housing area, how would you rate on a scale of 1 to 7 the green spaces in this area? Or again, on a scale of 1 to 7, how would you rate the quality of the pedestrian walkways and the entrances? And what about the playgrounds? Are there different kind of playgrounds? Playgrounds for toddlers, for children, for elderly people, and other playgrounds like skate parks, sport parks? What about the schools? Are there enough schools in the neighborhood? And what about the other supplies, like local supply, medical care, pharmacy, or others? Beside all the numbers that we collect and all the questions that we pose to the owners, a central aspect of the project was to talk to the residents, to ask the residents. And they are interviewed based on a questionnaire. So I thought, tonight we take the chance and talk to a resident from the Nordweststadt. So, good evening. On a scale of 1 to 7, do you have the impression that outsiders can find easily their way through the housing area?
Oh, this is not so easy. Lots of my friends come the first time to our place. They have to look for our house, so I would say only 4 points.
Thank you. And how satisfied are you with the availability of benches and seating?
They are definitely not enough, especially for the older people when they are going to the supermarket, for example. They have to make a rest. So I say only 3 points.
Okay. On a scale of 1 to 7 again, how easy or how uncomfortable is it to walk around your neighborhood by foot?
It's a very nice place for the pedestrians, especially in the park. There's a lot of green and nice ways to walk around. So for this, I will give 7.
Okay. And do you feel comfortable in your own flat?
Yes, I love my flat. It's nice layout, a balcony, we have a lot of light, so you can put a 7 for this.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time. So, you see, we ask a lot of questions tonight. Unfortunately, I have another question at the end of this presentation. And the question is, how can cities create valued and beloved affordable housing areas? Perhaps by looking at existing affordable housing areas systematically, and perhaps by talking to the residents. Housing quality is more than just 4 walls and a roof over one's head. And the quality of life is a cornerstone of housing.
We moved in January. It was still cold outside. Nevertheless, one of the first things we did was to put a bench in front of the door. Because that also reminds me of my childhood in Bulgaria. I grew up in a high-rise apartment building, a classic prefabricated building, and there we had the tradition to put a bench in front of the house to greet those coming home and invite them to rest. So this bench was also become a piece of home for me. Thank you very much. And finally, we have to thank Ben Kuhlmann, who did these great pictures for us, a photographer in Frankfurt. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you very much. So maybe we get closer to the answers by asking lots of questions. Last but not least, we have Raffaela Buchberger here in Frankfurt. She lives in Munich. She studied architecture in Stuttgart, Barcelona, and Münster. She's the initiator of Raumkollaboration, and she works full-time in the State Building Administration. Welcome to Frankfurt. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to introduce you the Raumkollaboration and start with the why we developed this theoretical construct. When I moved to Munich, I couldn't find a flat, so I was personally affected by the housing crisis. That's why I wanted to find out what the source of the problem is. As you might know, it's a number of various topics. There is no simple answer, because it's not about solving one problem, it's about solving many. Nevertheless, we identified one main problem. There is no land for commoning. Municipals have a social responsibility because we live in a social state that's actually regulated by law. But who are the local authorities? Can I get part of the decision-making process of my living environment? When it comes to housing, only a few benefit from the existing power structures. But if we want to provide a breeding ground for participatory processes, we need to empower those who are affected. Empowerment means self-qualification and self-authorization. But municipalities sold their land to reach the highest prices and to improve their budgets. That's how they weaken their influence in urban development processes to create our living environment. As long as the price for land is increasing, housing can't be affordable. This is one of the reasons why we thought about it, how land can be removed from the market. In our opinion, municipals should rebuy the ground and provide it for a common use. Common good-orientated urban development is no longer only a task of politics and administration, but of the society as a whole. Today's need is housing, but in the future land could be necessary for climate adaptation measures. To provide land and use it as a common good, We need new negotiation processes. This assumes that responsibilities are determined by all parties involved. It can't be delegated from top down. Social appreciation and self-efficacy are the main incentives for civic engagement. This must be seen as our biggest potential in transforming processes. To reach affordable housing, we need cooperation and collaboration with the locals. Tantans have no guarantee of dwelling, and gentrification is a determining factor when it comes to affordability. Our goal is to empower inhabitants to appropriate the knowledge about self-governance and becoming an equal part in planning processes. The Raumkollaboration is a structure that tackles the problems by a public trust to ensure accommodation and prevent it from reselling. Our approach is to divide land from building and split the power and responsibility in two foundations. One of them is a community foundation where the local commoning players are represented. The other one is a public trust, which is a regional authority and is not part of the municipal budget. The public trust consists of two bodies. One of it is the Foundation Council, which is filled by the community foundation that owns the building. The other one is the foundation chair, which is filled by the elected representatives who provide the municipal land. It comes to a return on investment when the expenses of the building costs decrease with time and the profit is invested to purchase land for commoning. The Community Foundation negotiates the mission of the public trust together with the foundation chair in a participatory process. The key stakeholders are the municipalities as well as the local commoning players and the civic society. I'd like to emphasize that the negotiation process between the stakeholders is an essential. Together they decide how the revenues from the rents and heritable building rights going to be invested. Civil society can benefit from a guarantee of dwelling, but also struggle with a lack of capacity. Local commoning players have a high impact on urban planning processes, but ownership is impossible. Municipals can profit of increasing land prices in the public trust, but the initial financing is necessary. New forms of housing and an improved quality of life can accompany with the gap between collective needs and individual interests. While local commoning players gain access to the land, the prices could increase faster than the amount of revenues. To operate sustainable urban development, broad political alliances are needed. I'd like to quote from Jane Jacobs' The Death and Life of Great American Cities. We expect too much of new buildings and too little of ourselves. People make it, and it's to them, not to buildings, that we must fit our plans. To verify our thoughts, we asked experts to review our model. We are still developing the theoretical structure and invite you to think with us. We are looking for a pioneer municipality because we would like to test the Raumkollaboration in a real-life laboratory. We hope that one day the Raumkollaboration helps to achieve a sustainable social urban design which exploits the potential of commoning. The result of that effort could be affordable housing in a resilient, open city which is able to respond to future issues. If all that sounds good to you, get part of the Raumkollaboration. We are looking for a pioneer municipality as well as for comrades in arms. We are part of the network Immophilien and open-minded to connect. Currently, we're taking part at the City Making Academy, which is hosted by the Federal Association for Housing and Urban Development. For more, follow us on social media or contact by mail at raumkollaboration.de. Thank you for your attention and have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Raffaella. So that's a lot to think about, isn't it? But I think one result, it isn't so complicated. We just have to want to do it, you know, be flexible, think of the space between the housing. Only housing doesn't solve all the issues. And I hope you will be back next week in Danzig am Platz when we talk about the planning instruments in history and today and dig further into the topics. Also that, of course, will be streamed and later on live remain on our YouTube channel of the German Architecture Museum. I thank all of you who came here. I thank all the speakers here in Frankfurt and in Tel Aviv. Thank you so much for making this happening. And I want to thank of course, to make this happen, I want to thank Jazz Unique. I want to thank the Produktionshaus Naxos. And I want to thank the technicians on the Lieblinghaus side that really made this happen. And I thank also Britta and Rebecca who helped get the Zoom link live. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a great evening in Tel Aviv. Have a chance for drinks and talk more about housing affordability and how easy, hopefully, we can make this all happen because we aim for the same thing. And I wish all of you and us in Frankfurt a fun evening. There's drinks outside. Thank you very much. Until next week.
Ja,